Hello friends, and welcome to our video today. Once more, it's lovely to spend this time together, and we really do sincerely thank you for taking the time to come and watch our video and listen. And we really hope, as always, that you will enjoy it and hopefully take something from it, and once more, hopefully give you some food for thought. You know, it really is a great privilege to be able to once more spend this time together, even though we're apart. It really is, and you know, personally speaking, I never lose sight of that. And so I really want to thank you for taking part, for also, in the bigger picture, taking time out of your busy earthly lives to once more look to the light of your own spirit and engage with those who have travelled onwards to the next world, which some may call heaven or the afterlife, our spirit friends and our beloveds, our loved ones, our families and friends, and all those who have travelled onward, who absolutely, well, they're just elated like I am and overjoyed to be able to step even closer than they do so ordinarily day to day, so that they can share their words and bring forward their healing power and their encouragement and so much more, so much more. And it's quite extraordinary really when I think about it, that when my spirit friends are sharing their words, that it seems to be that no matter who we are and what kind of life we're living, there is always something within that which my spirit friends share that has a resonance and a meaning to varying degrees, and really blows my mind once more that they know exactly what to share at any given time and how to convey that, and likewise the vibration of the healing that's within their words. So once again, friends, thank you from me and from my spirit friends for engaging and once more taking this time. As I understand it today, my spirit friends would like to once more share some philosophy with you, and as you would have seen in our previous philosophy videos, I will once again open in a moment's time in prayer, and likewise when we conclude our time together I will again close in prayer. Of course, there may be some new friends watching who maybe haven't seen any of the other videos before, so therefore I assume nothing. And as I've stated, simply that we do like to open and close in prayer, and do feel free to join in or not. Once more, it's entirely your choice. And just sit comfortably and be as open as you can be and as you want to be. And let's just engage in that light and that power together. Divine Spirit, Mother Earth, Father God, we give thanks this day for our lives, for every single aspect, every single lesson, every single way in which our pathway seems to meander, and at times perhaps go off in a completely different direction. But yet, Divine Spirit, we feel your reassurance and your love that even though there may be many diversions in our earthly lives, that our divine spirit, our divine light within, knows exactly the way forward, knows exactly the way in which it wishes to progress. And we thank you for the countless opportunities that we have to experience and explore and hopefully grow in our understanding about ourselves and our families and friends and those who are close to us, and equally the wider world. We thank you for the miracle and the blessing that it is that we are all so very different in the lives that we live, in our views, our thoughts, our beliefs, our experiences, our perceptions and so forth. But yet we are all one, joined in the power of love and eternal life. We ask, please, Divine Spirit, that you help us to continue as best we can to lift our eyes and our hearts and our minds to the heavens, where we will find your inspiration, your further enlightenment, to help us to awaken even more so in our lives. Please help us, Divine Spirit, to grow in our patience and our tolerance, to gently release as best we can those aspects of intolerance and judgments that we make as part of our human condition and our humanity. Help us to recognise, even more so, that we are all brothers and sisters, irrespective of age or gender or culture or ethnicity, and every single aspect that once more makes up our lives as a whole. Help us to feel that sense of unity and solidarity within our own homes, our families, and the wider network of our friends, our community, our country, and the whole planet, dear Mother Earth. Divine Spirit, as we gently bring our focus to this time, we invite you to step close, to share that which you wish to do so today, your words and your love, your healing power and your light, and everything that you bring so abundantly, so unconditionally, so beautifully. And finally, Divine Spirit, I ask, please, once more that you please help me to let go, to surrender my mind and my thoughts, so that you may use me as your clear channel. As always, in love and truth, in openness, and for the good of all. I invite you, my dear spirit friends, to now please be with me, and indeed be with each and every single one of us. Thank you. Amen. Dear ones, good afternoon to you. Or perhaps it may well be the morning, or indeed the evening, whichever time of day you may find yourselves engaged with our happy communication this day. We greet you and bring our blessings and our love to you in this moment. As our own dear one has acknowledged this day, it is a privilege to work together, to share, to pause for thought, to consider, in the dearest hope that your own understanding once more shall broaden. And we say, dear ones, do not be concerned if it is the case that perhaps 2 or 3 of your own personal questions may be answered, but then in their place perhaps there are 10 or 20 or even more in number. For you see, as you continue to evolve, the answers to the questions that you have shall be illuminated and made very clear to you, equally for your further consideration and contemplation. Dear ones, we should like to continue with our previous subject matter and share a few further thoughts with you in regard to reincarnation, and then we should like to gently move on for a little while and share our thoughts and speak with you in regard to life in the earthly world, in the earthly incarnation. In regard to the subject matter of reincarnation, as we have previously stated and made perfectly clear, there is indeed life after life after life. There is simply an enormous plethora of experiences, of lessons, of opportunities, of experience of which to partake in, that truly to encompass all of this in one earthly incarnation would be quite impossible. It is our understanding. And therefore, as we have stated previously, there is before you, when leaving the earthly world and journeying onwards to our world, returning home, to your true home, that which you may know and understand as heaven, or the spiritual realms, the spirit world, you are then given opportunity in which to decide, utilizing your own free will and choice, as to the next course of action that you may indeed take. And you see, you may wonder why it is the case that, for example, an individual may then decide to visit once more the earthly world, inhabiting a different body, born into a different family, a different culture, and so forth. You may then wonder why it is the case that you do not have memories of this incarnation at the forefront of your mind. And you see, dear ones, this is simply because it is our understanding that any given lifetime that you are living at a particular time is that which fulfills your whole focus, so to speak, your whole attention. It is present, alive, and in the moment, and of course has great relevance and meaning. And therefore you see, if it were the case that you did indeed recall events from a previous incarnation, it would then have the potential to create confusion and perhaps stress, and perhaps will draw your attention in a different direction of that which has gone before it, which may not necessarily be conducive to that present time and that moment in that lifetime that you're currently existing and residing in, you see. But let us be clear in stating, you see, that your own divine light, your spirit within, is not dissimilar from that which you would know in the earthly world to be a recording device, whereby every single experience and encounter and lesson and memory and every single moment of every day and week and month and year that does indeed pass cannot help but be absorbed. And this is exactly the same for every single incarnation, you see. Everything is stored and recorded and registered and understood, so to speak. But of course, when matters then focus upon one's own mind, the conscious waking mind cannot help but be, as you know and understand, engaged in your earthly incarnation of that particular day and that particular way in which you are applying your focus at any given time. And therefore you see it is the case that as you so engage your conscious waking mind, then the subconscious mind is resting. And there are aspects within your own subconscious mind that at times can have an echo or a whisper, so to speak, of previous memories. But it is that understanding that this is not commonly experienced, so to speak. And then you see, for example, when it is the case that you are in your restful state at night, sleeping, or perhaps at another time which is suitable and at your convenience. It may well be that in the dream state that your subconscious mind becomes enlivened, and perhaps you do have very vivid dreams, perhaps of another land, perhaps of another incarnation. Perhaps you may even remember these events and images when you then awaken the next day or later that day. Equally, there are those in the earthly world who have the aspect of being able to recall previous incarnations. Perhaps it may be the case that they remember a particular town of which they lived, perhaps even a particular house, and even more detail than that, perhaps their own name, which they are then able to go and research and find, and perhaps even discover photographs, as you would understand. And that there in front of them is the hard evidence, as you would say in your modern terminology, of their previous incarnation. We know, of course, there are individuals who sometimes can happen upon a location in the earthly world and have a very strong sense of familiarity and, as you would say, also a déjà vu. And this again can be exactly because we have previously lived in that particular area or that particular house. And you see there is a recognition, a resonance and a familiarity between you. There are, of course, those in the earthly world, perhaps even some among you who are watching and listening and engaging with us in this moment with our video recording, who perhaps have visited an individual who does specialize in past life regression, whereby you are gently guided into an altered state of mind, whereby these memories, these experiences, this information can be accessed. And whilst this can be of great benefit to bring clarity and broader understanding, we do say to you, dear ones, that it is not an aspect that you should leap into, so to speak. We would gently advise that you give very careful consideration to engaging in this particular area. For you see, it can be like opening a doorway, and as we've stated, and as you know and understand in your own unique manner, there is indeed plenty to be focusing upon within the lifetime that you are currently living and breathing and experiencing. But yet, of course, if you have your own reasoning as to why you should like to engage in a specialist in regard to past life regression, then of course you must proceed and take the action of which you desire. You see, it is that understanding, dear ones, also that when you choose to revisit the earthly world, that as you so do evolve from a baby, an infant, and as you then progress and grow into an adult and so forth, once more all that has gone before it in terms of lifetimes are carefully stored or recorded, absorbed, so to speak, within your own divine light, your own spirit. This is why you see you can sometimes come across an individual who may be, for example, maybe a child of, let us say, 10 years, perhaps 11 years of age. But yet when you engage with them and speak to them and you are in the presence of them and they of you, you cannot help but get the feeling and a very strong sense, perhaps to varying degrees, that this child, this 10 or 11-year-old, seems to be an incredibly aged soul, with wisdom and knowledge and understanding far beyond the physical earthly years. You see, and this is a perfect demonstration to you that that is exactly the case, that that spirit, that divine light within has indeed travelled the time of ages, and once more does then find itself by its own agreement to be within a new physical body, a new physical earthly incarnation, but yet has the perspective and understanding of someone far older or greater in years. It is, we feel, a very diverse subject matter. There are so very many facets in regard to life after life after life. And we say at this point in our communication and in conclusion to this subject matter for the present time, do not be concerned, do not be overwhelmed that this does indeed occur, that there are many earthly incarnations. But once more, it is your choice as to how you engage with your life, with yourself, with the choices that you make, and the outcomes of the choices of which you engage with. You see, to each and every one of you, you are afforded a great gift. And as we have spoken of in previous recordings and communication to you, that of progression and eternal progression. That you have the choice in which you engage with your lives and yourselves and each other. Once more, based on your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own understanding, and likewise, as those have done to you in the earthly life, perhaps you then in later life cannot help but act from a point of the experiences, the joy and the suffering that you have encountered along the way. That this then can indeed manifest once more in the engagement and your perception of your own life. Let us give an example to be perfectly clear of that which we are speaking. Let us take an individual who perhaps as a child was loved and lived in a very secure home and environment, and they were encouraged in every aspect of education and creativity and expression. And then as that individual did indeed grow to be an adult, then this cannot help be reflected in their own character and their own personality, the way in which they were nurtured. Let us not forget the aspect of their nature, their own temperament, their own way in which they engage with their earthly lives, to perceive and understand, and then react and move forward accordingly. So our individual who did indeed come from a very stable background, so to speak, and was encouraged, perhaps grew or grows to be a very confident individual and assertive. And then you see it is their own free will and choice how they utilize this aspect. They may use it to further their creativity, to encourage others, to share, to spread joy and love and understanding and happiness. Or perhaps you see at the other end of the spectrum, they may choose to become driven by power and have a thirst for it, whereby they then become engaged with their own egotism and perhaps somewhat look down upon others around them. Perhaps they feel that they have arrived at a point of being where they know everything and they are the master of their own life. And indeed, this can have the potential to sadly overspill onto others' lives. Of course, this cannot help but be the case, for as our individual travels onward in the earthly incarnation, then our individual cannot help but come into contact with many, many other individuals, family, friends, colleagues, acquaintances, and the stranger in the street, so to speak. But you see, there can also be the other aspects of insecurity. Perhaps our individual does indeed feel that there is an aspect of non-acceptance of self. Perhaps they set the bar, so to speak, very high indeed, and have high expectations of themselves and of others around them. And you see, this would then inwardly create a great pressure to deliver, to perform, which in turn can create a great anxiety. And within that, there is a great vulnerability, for perhaps that individual does not feel they're good enough, that whatever they set their mind to is never quite the ticket, so to speak. And therefore, with this ingrained behavior through the passage of time, this then does become a heavy burden indeed. Perhaps they then feel in later life they're backed into a corner by their own very high standards and so forth. Perhaps alienating those around them, and truly that is not their intention. But as each of you would know and understand, the thought processes of your own minds are extraordinarily powerful. Let us give another example. Perhaps our individual may be invited to a gathering or a function, and may be an individual who perhaps does indeed have his or her own insecurities. But perhaps when our individual then meets and goes to this function, this gathering, and he or she enters the room, he does or she does then seem to be the life and soul of the gathering, with interesting stories and anecdotes, perhaps laughing and seemingly to be completely at their ease, and able to put others at their ease also. But you see, this individual may well have honed the skills to mask very cleverly that which is occurring inside. But would you not agree, dear ones, that perhaps an individual can appear to be extraordinarily confident, for example, but yet it is the case that it is the complete opposite within. But yet the individual, our individual, wishes to project to the gathering or to the world that they are capable and engaging and so forth. Of course, this does then shine a light upon the aspect of your own human instinct. Your own human instincts, of course, cannot help but be present within you to protect oneself in every respect, from emotional hurts and wounds and experiences, and likewise to physically protect yourselves from harm. And this does then bring into the equation the aspect of flight or fight. In a situation, whether you choose to remain present or whether you choose to run away. You see, it is our understanding that humanity can indeed become very, very immersed, shall we say, in the power of one's own thoughts and the direction and the course of action that you do decide to take. The power of those thoughts are quite understandably all-consuming. And sometimes it is the case that even when you feel very strongly and intuitively and instinctively that which you perhaps would name to be your gut instinct, to follow one particular direction or course of action to take, but yet the mind or the heart, the emotional self, wishes to make a choice and progress and move forward in perhaps completely the opposite direction. And this then does indeed create a great, great dilemma. What should you do? Dear ones, when these situations and these occurrences happen in your earthly incarnation, we would strongly recommend that, as best you can, to listen to the voice of your intuitive self, your spirit within, once more, however so well you identify with this. For you see, your own divine light, your spirit within, cannot help but engage with all aspects of self. And it will very gently try to ease the strength of the power of the mind and the emotion to help bring about a greater clarity. This is why, dear ones, it is commonly known in the earthly world that it is best not to make any decisions in haste, far rather to sit, to digest, to contemplate, and have a gentle overview of choices and options and possibilities before you. Or as you would say in your modern terminology, to sleep on it. I feel this is excellent advice to take on board, so to speak. For as you acutely know and understand, once a decision is taken and once you act upon it, it is impossible to go back on and retract. What's done is done, whether that be acting in a positive manner or perhaps a negative manner. It can take, indeed, perhaps you would agree, a lifetime to build trust between another individual, perhaps a second for it to be completely annihilated. Therefore, dear ones, it is of great importance that once more you are kindly to each other, to realize, perhaps in a broader capacity, the impact that your words have upon another, and equally the actions that you do take. Again, whether this is with those that you know and love and cherish, or whether it is not, every action, of course, has a reaction and a consequence. Of course, in stating these words, we do full well know and understand, and as we have spoken of previously, perhaps it may feel that you are walking upon a tightrope. But yet not, dear ones. Simply it is the case that humanity is extraordinarily complex, but yet also extraordinarily simple. And we mean this in the context of, once more, your own human base, so to speak, instincts to survive, to love, to share, to engage with your lives as best you can. And likewise, dear ones, the aspect of your own thoughts and the power of each and every thought that manifests and passes through your minds. It is our understanding, and once more, perhaps you may agree or perhaps not, that each and every thought that you think does indeed have a vibration. And every single vibration that is made manifest cannot help but travel onwards and out, so to speak. Whether there may be individuals within the room or the home or the area or location that you may be in or not. Every thought and the vibration that it carries is indeed received. Of course, there are those thoughts that you may think, and they are not directed at any particular individual or any particular thing, area of life or subject matter, and they come and go. But nevertheless, they have a vibration attached to them. And then there are those thoughts that perhaps you are indeed thinking of a particular individual or circumstance that you may well find yourselves to be in, a situation. And once more, every single thought does indeed grow and build, and likewise the vibration that is attached to it does exactly the same. That is why sometimes it can be very strongly felt in individuals' vibration before they have even opened their mouths, so to speak, and spoken a single word. The vibration of their thoughts is heard in a different manner, is felt in a different manner, and received exactly in a different manner. And this is why there are those individuals in the earthly world, some who you have a very strong resonance with, and others who you do not. That which you would say in the earthly world to be named to be rather to be on the same wavelength. This is partly due to the thoughts of yourself and the other individual or individuals concerned, but this is also partly to do with the power of those thoughts of each of you, but likewise your own divine light, your own spirit within. Because there are those dear ones, perhaps not many in number, that you may encounter in the earthly physical incarnation, of which you deem to be a kindred spirit. You have a resonance and an understanding with them, or perhaps you would utilize the word rapport. And you see, it may well be the case in this relationship, the possibility that, as we have touched upon previously, of reincarnation. There may be the possibility that you have known each other in a previous time. But equally, it could be the very fact that you have not known each other in a previous time, and simply in this physical earthly incarnation, there is a shared understanding, a resonance, a connection that you share together. And therefore you see the power of your own thoughts, one to the other, and so forth, backwards and forwards, cannot help but be positive and joyful and of a very nourishing vibration, where there is enhancement for both. But of course, there can be difficulties along the way, even with an individual who you have such a deep resonance with. Perhaps you will at times have a difference or a differing of opinions, so to speak. And therefore, perhaps your thoughts and the power of your thoughts to change slightly to a more negative aspect. And because it is the case that you have such a resonance with that individual, then there can be a sense of profound emotional hurt. This is why also, dear ones, once more, it is so important, as best you can, to be mindful of your thoughts and the power that they contain. And equally, dear ones, the aspect of thoughts of self. You see, there is a great power, as we have spoken in a slightly different context previously, the aspect of your own self-evaluation and acceptance of self. And once more, the aspect of the power of your thoughts that cannot help but come into effect. It is the case that perhaps you may think in a certain way which perhaps you may deem to be slightly unfortunate or perhaps very unfortunate. Therefore you see as you would understand the expression to be in the earthly world, plant a seed and watch it grow. And therefore you see if an individual does perhaps berate themselves and once more feel that they are not good enough and so forth, then this then does manifest even more so into greater and more powerful thoughts, which then over time become compounded. And perhaps you would understand as to be a layering effect. And therefore, dear ones, to cultivate a greater love and acceptance of self does indeed greatly assist you along the way, along the pathway of your life in the earthly incarnation. To truly know at the core of your being, in every respect, that you have done the best you can. You have applied yourself for the reasons that you have, or perhaps the reasons that you haven't, and that you do as best you can arrive at a point of acceptance. There is great power within this, you see. There is great liberation that continues to await you through greater acceptance and broadening and understanding of self. We say to you, dear ones, look at how far you have come. Look at all the ways in which your lives have guided you in all manner of different areas. All those individuals that you have met so far up to this point, this stage in your evolution and this physical incarnation, and the impact that they have had, perhaps in a very small way, and equally perhaps in a very significant and profound manner. Those who have loved and cherished and adored you, and perhaps those who have been very unkind and cruel. But of course, let us not forget once more that for every individual you interact with, irrespective of the relationship, be it family or friends that you have with them, they in turn have their own lifetime, their own incarnation to travel through, so to speak. They each have their own thoughts and the power that they contain. They each have their own emotions, the joys, the emotional wounds and trauma that they carry along the way, which cannot help, once more, the joy and the suffering continue to manifest. All the while, this aspect of acceptance is not wholeheartedly embodied. And you see, as we state these words, we do so in the absence of any judgment, you see. For we did indeed, as we have spoken of previously, albeit in a different context, we have lived the earthly incarnation ourselves and know intimately the difficulties, the suffering, and all that is contained within each and every experience and opportunity and lesson that is presented before you, or that you do indeed make manifest yourselves. We wholeheartedly acknowledge that it is not easy. But as we have also stated previously, you do indeed have all the tools, so to speak, that you need within. Once more, the capacity for acceptance and kindness of love, of patience and tolerance, and so much more. Because, of course, you are divine, dear ones. You are made of light and truth and purity. And once more we say to you that even though in living the physical earthly incarnation, there may be many times where you feel anything but, perhaps you do feel very earthbound, once more for very many varied reasons. But remember, perhaps even more so in those times, to take stock, to take a breath as best you can, to have an overview of your lives and once more the distance of which you've travelled and how extraordinary this has been. To continue very gently to make the most of each day that you live and breathe in the earthly incarnation. For perhaps you would agree, dear ones, that the passage of time does indeed pass so very fleetingly. It is quite extraordinary how, perhaps for many, perhaps in their adolescence and their teenage years, the desire to be an adult. And then, once having arrived as the passage of time has gone by, of being an adult, and then perhaps middle-aged, and then perhaps more so in the twilight of your physical earthly incarnation. Perhaps there are then those times that you do indeed wish you were that adolescent once more. And this brings us to the next point that we wish to touch upon, the aspect of your earthly lives, of the past, the present, and the future. Once more, we do not say this lightly, for we know acutely well, once more, from our own experiences of living the earthly physical incarnation, that it is extraordinarily difficult to live in the moment. We do know and fully acknowledge that we do make reference to this quite frequently, to encourage you to live in the moment, to embody the moment, to engage in the moment, and so forth. But yet, true application of this can be acutely difficult. We fully recognize and acknowledge this. Because, of course, you cannot help at times but have your focus pointing in the direction of that which has gone before it. Once more, the joyful situations and opportunities and memories, the lessons that you did travel through and engage with. And isn't it quite extraordinary that those aspects of your physical earthly incarnation that have gone before you, that are your past, how the human condition and the human mind does so very easily forget the joy, the wonder, the excitement, the thrill, and so forth. And so seemingly obvious seem to focus acutely upon the trauma, upon the suffering, upon the injustices, and the way in which you were at the hands of such difficulty. Therefore, this cannot help but once more contain an aspect of energetic holding. Because, of course, you are hurt, you are emotionally wounded, it was a trauma. I cannot help but be, let us say, absorbed and archived, so to speak, which can once more have the potential to create a very difficult and challenging foundation of which to continue onwards. And then equally, dear ones, we understand the aspect of the passage of time and the future, that which is yet to unfold, and the way in which, once more, the power of your own thoughts can engage with this. Perhaps you look to the future with great excitement and happiness and hopefulness, or perhaps the complete opposite. Perhaps there is great fear and uncertainty and a resistance to change and evolve. And of course, a plethora of thoughts and emotional feelings between the positive and the more negative aspects as you overview the aspect of your future. Then, in coming to the present time, in the present day, once more, if it is that you are able to immerse yourself in that day, in that time as best you can, then you see this creates a great balance and harmony in regard to the relationship between your own past and your own future. That you are gently applying your mindfulness to encourage yourself to be present to that particular day. And we do not doubt in saying that you may have your diary, your calendar of events and so forth, and various commitments and areas of your lives which take up every single day. And that perhaps at this moment in time, as you listen to these words and as you engage with us and watch this recording, this video, perhaps it is the case that you know what is going to occur tomorrow and next week and next month, and perhaps even events that may well be within your diary and your calendar that have been arranged into or brought into being for the next year which is to come. So therefore, these events, so to speak, these engagements, these commitments are events that have been organized into your future. But as you full well know and understand, especially at this time with this virus within the earthly world and this lockdown, albeit that it is easing now and changing once more, then once more you have been afforded the experience of knowing most acutely that your commitments, your arrangements literally can change in the blink of an eye, as you would say in your modern terminology. And therefore there are those in the earthly world who take the approach and the philosophy that they do not make plans into the future, for those plans very well may not unfold. But yet we would say and add to this sentiment, remember, dear ones, there is always hope. Always hope that those commitments and those areas of your lives, the time of which is yet to come in the future, that it is indeed human instinct and within your nature to be hopeful for better things to come, for greater opportunities. And truly, you see, this is to be celebrated, whether in the reality these events, these commitments and so forth do actually come into being, or whether it is the case that they do not. The light of eternal hope is present within you. It is a gift, you see, of the divine. How glorious it is, you see, of all these gifts that you contain within you. And hope is indeed a very strong and powerful gift that you have. So, dear ones, we say, as best you can, bring into your awareness and your understanding broader acceptance of self, of who you are, of the life you are living, of the experiences and encounters that have gone before in your past, of matters presently before you, moment to moment, day to day, and likewise the future which is yet to unfold. We say to you in conclusion, and once more, engage in the light, engage in the power that you have and that you are. Engage in acceptance and love of self. For truly in accepting yourselves in the full spectrum and magnitude of your humanity, this will greatly, greatly assist you and enhance the life of which you are living. Even in the face of the greatest trauma that you have ever experienced, that you may be going through currently at this moment in time, as difficult as it perhaps might be to understand this thought or this concept, it is indeed part and parcel of this physical incarnation of which you are living. And once more, as we have spoken in a different context, when going through and being on the receiving end, so to speak, of these most challenging lessons and trauma, do please know that this is all a reflection of the evolution of your own divine light. That you have evolved and traveled onward to a point of existence in your own being, in your own reality, whereby you are able to transcend your suffering. You are able to overcome and to learn even more. And even in those times where perhaps you may feel so overwhelmed once more, perhaps you may think thoughts in your mind such as, I do not want to learn anymore, I've had enough of learning and suffering and heartache and difficulty and trauma. And once more, dear ones, in those times continue to reach out to those that you love and trust and treasure immensely in the earthly world, and likewise those in our world, to assist you, to offer encouragement, to bring renewed hope to you, to reinforce, to reignite the capacity of the gifts, the diversity of the gifts, the eternal light of which you are, to help you to take that next step forward. Truly, dear ones, you can overcome all that is before you. We do appreciate this is indeed a rather grand statement to make. But you see, it is the truth. There is nothing that you cannot gently overcome. Dear ones, we shall now leave these thoughts with you. Once more, perhaps for your kind consideration and contemplation and digestion. We bring our love and our healing, light and power to you. Perhaps as you have sat in our time together this day, you have felt in your own unique manner a sense of calm or perhaps a peacefulness, perhaps a sense of surrender and stillness, perhaps all manner of other emotions and thoughts of your own. And it is our dearest hope and our dearest wish that there is a resonance with that which we have shared with you this day, which has brought to you some form of benefit in a positive manner. Truly it is our dearest, dearest wish. You are loved beyond measure. Know this, dear ones. Beloved, sit with you. We smile. We bring their comfort and their unwavering support and joy and happiness of that which you shared together when they were in the earthly world, but equally now that which you share together, even though they have travelled onward and no longer inhabit a physical body and live in the earthly world. It is true indeed that we are only a thought away. And once more, even though you may not hear an answer or an acknowledgement, perhaps in the way in which you had hoped, we say to you once more, to each and every one of you, you are always answered. But this can be in the most subtle ways, you see. As we have given examples previously, perhaps you may listen to your wireless, to your devices, and a particular tune does happen upon your ears that recalls a treasured memory. Perhaps you may come across an item that belonged to a particular beloved that perhaps you no longer thought you had. And there it is, and once more, the presence and the memory of that beloved is all encompassing in that moment. Perhaps you may happen upon a beautiful feather or a glorious flower or an exquisite bird song or perhaps some other form of glorious nature in the natural world. And once more this does trigger a memory and a sense of closeness. And once again we say to each and every one of you, dear ones, that we are behind these experiences, doing all that we can to let you know of our presence, to stimulate your senses, to tenderly and lovingly put an arm about you, to hold your hand. Dear ones, we bring our blessings to you and enfold you in the light once more from our world. And until our next happy meeting and communication together, we shall now wish you, dear ones, a good day. Thank you, dear ones, for spending this time with us today, for joining in, for your openness, for your consideration and everything, for you as an individual, beautiful light coming together. I will now just take a moment to close our time in prayer. And once again, dear friends, do feel free to join in or not, so to speak. Divine Spirit, Mother Earth, Father God, as our time together in this video, in this recording, does now come to its end, we offer our gratitude for the way in which we have been able to come together in our thoughts, in our openness, in our love, in our humanity, and also in our divinity. We are most grateful for the way in which you so beautifully bring the light and the power and the love and the philosophy from your world to all the many, many, many spirit friends and beloveds who meet and join and converge in this moment, in this time. We offer our deepest, deepest gratitude. And finally, Divine Spirit, I ask please that in these moments together, the light of the Spirit and each of us in the earthly world, and the light of the Spirit from your world, that as we join together as one, that you please send on this beautiful healing light and power and love out into the earthly world, once more to all those people and places where it is needed, and for whatever those needs may be. And I also ask please that this healing light and power be sent out to our own beloveds, our families and friends, those who are closer to home in our hearts and in our minds, that equally they also receive and share in your light. Once more we acknowledge gifts that are given to us, and the way in which our thoughts and the power of our thoughts and our intentions join together in this moment in serving as a catalyst so beautifully, and sending out that light and that healing power. And Divine Spirit, we acknowledge the miracle once more that it is. That again, within your sight, everything is possible. Your light and your power touches all and brings positive benefit to all. Please help us to continue to grow in our acceptance of self, of each other, of our brothers and sisters, of humanity. And we ask finally, please, that you help us once more to continue to awaken to our light, our gifts, and that we may move, hopefully, into the fullness of our lives, even more so. We ask that you please help us to release our fears, our uncertainties that we may have about the future, not only in regards to this virus within our world, the earthly world, but our lives and the uncertainties that are personal to us within this time that we are now living. Please help us, Divine Spirit, to continue to be open and willing and flexible as best we can be, to acknowledge our resources, our strength, and once more, all the gifts that we have within us, those that we know about, and equally those perhaps in this moment that we don't know about, that have yet to emerge or unfold or be made manifest. We gently focus on that vibration of hope. Hope for brighter days. Hope for greater acceptance. And finally, once more, we offer our love and our deepest gratitude, Divine Spirit, to you and to all our beloveds, our families and friends in both worlds, my dear treasured pets. We cannot help but bring a smile to our faces in the joy that they bring, even in those moments where perhaps they may be being mischievous. Thank you for the companionship as well. And how wonderful it is that in the earthly life we are able to form the most wonderful, wonderful friendships. Perhaps we have met with those who have lived a completely different life from our own, but yet at whatever day and time and place, our pathways cross and a beautiful friendship begins to blossom and grow. How blessed we are in the abundance that we have, and we thank you, Divine Spirit, for all of this. And even in those times where perhaps we feel we have anything but, perhaps we feel we have no abundance and that we suffer enormously. Perhaps we feel so alone and isolated, and perhaps that we have no friends. But yet, Divine Spirit, once more, your love and your healing power and your hopefulness that you gently enfold around all of us cannot help but carry the vibration of reassurance, of your closeness, of your love, and truly that we are not alone. So we thank you once more, most deeply, with every part of our being. Amen. Once more, dear friends, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And as always, we do hope that you are well and that you are safe and that you are happy and that life is unfolding in a lovely, lovely way for you, even in the face of, once more, the ongoing uncertainties of the easing of the lockdown and of the virus. Again, that there are those joyful aspects of our lives, even if they're so small. It doesn't matter of the size, how large or how small they may be. It's just wonderful that we have that free will and choice to focus on those aspects that make us smile and laugh and help us to be lighter, so to speak, to feel lighter. So thank you, friends, once more for sharing this time, and as always, we do greatly look forward to spending more time together apart in these recordings. So do please take care, and until next time, God bless and lots of love to each and every one of you.